Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm glad you're all here. I'm Richard Wasansky, the chair of the Guilford Select Board. Welcome. Before I introduce tonight's presenters on the potential library edition, I want to let you know that this project had its roots in three realities. The first is that our librarian, Kathy Wilkin, who has lovingly labored in the present building for many, many years, is finding it more and more difficult to house the collection, keep up with technological advances in library capacities, and serve the advanced needs of Guilford patrons. This led to Kathy having a vision of how to make more room in the library and how to fill it. Additionally, over the past several years, the library received estate gifts from Guilfordians who remembered the library in their wills. These additional unrestricted funds served as a motivation to do something substantial with them. Thirdly, the town voted in its capital improvement plan to provide money for the library to expand. Among other reasons, these three realities led to Kathy and the trustees to begin pondering how the library can expand to serve all of our town's residents, young and old. It's now my pleasure to introduce Isaac Wagner, who is consultant to the project, and Jack Beyer and Jeff Goldstone of Goldstone Architects, who were working on the addition design, who will present to us on how our wonderful old library can take on new life to meet the growing need of Guilford's residents. Take it away, Isaac.
Right. Hello, everybody. I'm hoping everybody can hear me. Everybody can hear me. I'm seeing some nods. Okay, good. My name is Isaac Wagner again. I'm a development consultant for the town of Guilford on this project. I've been working on it for about 2 years, along with a team of other professionals. And so what I'm going to do is make a few brief comments about the history of what we've been investigating at the library. I'm going to turn it over to Jack Beyer, who's our architect, and he's going to go through the plan set that we have. We're going to try to go through this very, very quickly, and it will probably leave a lot of questions in your mind as we go through quickly, and that's good. That's exactly what we want. So we're hoping for people to ask questions. Before I start in earnest, I want to go through a couple of housekeeping measures because at least on my screen, I've got 2 pages of people. We have some eyeballs monitoring everybody, but I can't do it when I'm talking here. So I want to go through a couple of housekeeping steps. First of all, as it stands now, Peter has muted just about everybody for the first segment of our presentation. We're going to present for about 20 minutes. And then we'll go through a process of inviting participation and questions, so we can unmute you as you have questions. For those of you who are not fully indoctrinated into Zoom etiquette and Zoom meetings, if you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see this little button called reactions. And if you click on that button, you see a raise hand. So you're welcome when we get to the question and answer period to raise your hands. That would be the easiest way for somebody to see, who has questions, and we'll effectively call on you. You can also do it the old-fashioned way, where you, hey, me, literally raise your hand, and we'll probably pick up on that fact that you have your hand up, and we'll call on you at that point as well. Related to those, if you don't happen to have your name, I see a couple people here. If your name isn't entirely clear who you are with the name from the name on the screen, just state your name, your first and last name. That will help us to document this meeting in the minutes, so we know who's actually speaking. I think that's all the housekeeping. Did I get all the housekeeping, Peter, correctly?
Yes, I think you're good.
Okay. All right.
We want to let people know that this is being recorded.
This is being recorded, and if your screen is anything like mine, you can see that in the top left-hand corner. You'll see a little note that this is being recorded, and it will be replayed on BCTV. So people who can't make it will be able to see it.
It'll also be on the town website and on YouTube.
So you can go to all three places if you want. Okay, quick, brief history of, not of the library, because the library has been around a really long time. A brief history of our examinations. Of just over 2 years ago, I was contacted by the library and the town to help them get through somebody's. There you go. Thank you. To get through a process of overcoming some barriers. You all know the library well enough probably to know how small it is, number one. The small site it's at, number two. Its location, number three. You know, while there was some funds set aside by the Friends of the Library and by the town, nobody was terribly confident that we could actually put those funds to use at the current location. So we wrote a grant. The town received a grant to do some feasibility level investigations to answer some questions about what we could do at that site. That was finished. Those activities were finished mid last summer, and that included a bunch of stuff. And we can get into this later. But as an example, we did a full environmental review. We did a historic assessment. We actually did archaeological digging out on the site just to ensure that we weren't interfering with, you know, historic artifacts or native artifacts there. There's a whole host of other elements that we worked on throughout this period. We did a little fundraising last year as well, and found some extra money for the project. At the end of the day, we felt like we could build an addition to the library, an addition that had that's accessible. In other words, universally accessible on both levels. In addition that we could permit and that would be safe, and we had the space in the room for. Jack in a minute is going to go through those features for us. But before I give it to Jack, one more thing: where we're going next. This meeting is designed to gain input from people and to sort of lay out what we have for plans prior to town meeting. And the town is going to be asked to borrow an amount of money for this project at town meeting. So that's looking forward. That's really our next big step for this project. We probably have another 6 to 9 months of fundraising that we need to do to fill additional funding gap for this project. We're looking to have our final plans and bid specifications completed by late summer, early fall. And we're hoping for early 2023 construction on the site if all things go into place. So that's a big snapshot of our plans moving forward. So without further ado, I'd like to turn this over to Jack Beyer. Wave your hand, Jack. Jack Beyer from Goldstone Architecture. Jack's partner, Jeff Goldstone, is also on the call, but I think Jeff's going to do most of the talking. And let him go through a quick presentation, and Jack's going to flash some things for us to look at on the screen.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay, good. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you all for being here. And I'm happy to talk about this exciting project. I want to let you know that, you know, we're really at the 60% level of design here. So, you know, things are not necessarily, you know, finalized or complete, but this is where we're at. I'm trying to share my screen and it says host disabled participant screen sharing. Could you, Peter, try that again? Okay, let's try that again. All right, so I want to start just, you know, just to make sure that everybody remembers. I know you're probably all familiar with the library, obviously, you know, this is your town and you've been there probably a lot more than I have, but just to, you know, flash some existing pictures up here of the library and talk about the existing library. Just to get it, refreshed in your memory, the original building was built in 1892. Excuse me. It's a wood frame building on a brick and stone foundation with wood clapboard siding and slate shingles. On the back side of the building is a small addition that was built in 2004, also wood frame, but on a reinforced concrete foundation. And that addition provided for a second entrance to the facility off of Carpenter Hill Road, the main entrance being off of Guilford Center Road. And you can see, obviously, it's a historic building. It's old. It is not actually listed on National or State Register of Historic Places, but it is a significant historic value, as in addition to the fact that it is in a group of buildings, historic buildings from the early 19th century, the adjacent Universalist meeting house next door, as well as additional structures nearby that are historic, and it could be listed as, or it could be eligible for listing as a potential historic district, thinking of the entire village, essentially, with these several historic structures. Just some recent upgrades. I mean, the basement first floor level was reinforced structurally, so very sound structure, and it was also fully insulated in the basement and in the attic. Other than that, the building remains mostly the way that it originally was. So now I'm going to go to the drawings and just talk a little bit about the existing space. So this is basically the layout of the existing building at the main level. Front porch, front entrance.
Up there, Jack. Jack, you got to get the.
Sorry.
Change your screen. Yeah.
Pardon me. Let me figure out how to do that. I'm gonna have to try the sharing again. I apologize if I'm.
That's all right.
Not the greatest at the Zoom here. Here we go. How about that? Try that.
Oh, much better. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is the floor plan of the existing first floor, main entrance here, front porch off of Guilford Center Road, into this basically the original 1892 structure, rectangle with essentially divided into two spaces, currently being used, the front room being used for book collections and the librarian's space up here in the corner, and the back section being used as the children's library. And then this, bump on the back here, about 100 square feet, is the 2004 addition with a toilet room and a side entrance off Carpenter Hill Road. And this is the basement, which is essentially mechanical equipment space as well as storage. And just take note that the only way to get to this is by going outdoors through this exterior door. The existing site is essentially, this is the property here, again, adjacent to the Universalist meeting house. The building is kind of situated more, up to the front corner of both Carpenter Hill Road and Guilford Center Road, facing Guilford Center Road, with the front entrance walkway here. There's a pull-off area here, parking space for handicap parking, and this is a handicap accessible existing entrance to the facility. This is the 2004 addition here with the steps off the side. This gravel area off of Carpenter Hill Road can support about 6 parked cars there. There's a shed on the back here that is currently used for skis and snowshoes that the town provides for the community to use. And then this is the water well, drilled water well right here, and the septic tank out here. There's a stone monument over on this side here. So then, one of the basic program that we were given with this project was, as Isaac kind of laid out, a 2-story addition on the back of the building that would have, room for expansion for book collections, research, reading, etc. But also provides a room or two for private conversations and telephone calls or video conferencing, providing an indoor space for children's and community activities, including access to toilet room and kitchen facilities. And that was kind of a critical component, was the fact that that activity area would want to be able to be occupied and operated independently of the library. So that was a challenge to work out in the design. I'm just giving you the overall program here, and we can get into the proposed design. Additionally, we wanted to upgrade the electrical and HVAC systems, including obviously for the new addition, but also for the existing library building, including providing cooling and ventilation for the existing building. Access to storage is always a critical thing. And then, really the design of the addition, really wanted to be done in a way that showed that it was a modern structure, and that, but did not sort of overtake the existing historic structure. So it wanted to sort of take a backseat to the existing historic structure, but complement it at the same time. So I want to start just with the site, proposed site improvements showing the addition to the building. And I apologize if I jump around a little bit here, but I might need to jump back and forth to kind of describe some of these things as the site relates to the building design. One of the challenges and sort of constraints on the site is the fact that the water well was in a location directly behind the existing building that really, impacted where the addition could really be placed. We certainly didn't want to place the addition on the side over here for many reasons, but placing the addition behind the existing building was limited by the placement of the existing water well. And also we wanted to preserve as much of the side yard as possible, and keep the distance from the Universalist church adjacent to it. So we came up with the concept of this sort of main rectangular section of the addition, which you'll see in the plans and elevations when we move forward here, as sort of a separate building from the existing original building, and then this sort of infill area as a connector between the two to give some separation. And you'll see in the design drawings how this main rectangle has a gable roof, and the rest of this infill area has a flat roof, and that helped to make that separation. The site improvements, again, we've got a lower level entrance into the new addition to support the activity space and have that be able to be independently operated from the library. We wanted to make sure that we had, handicap parking that was accessible to that lower level, and that there was obviously handicap accessible entrance to the lower level directly from that handicap parking space. So we added 2 parking spaces over here, and we've created some, walkways and an entrance plaza to get around on the site, including a walkway up to the existing walkway at the front. So if you're parking on the side parking area, Carpenter Hill Road, that you have access to the front of the building as well. You'll also notice a patio on the back here. When we get into looking at the building plans, you'll see that the activities area has a direct, access to this outside patio area, which is obviously a direct access to the yard. So this is the lower level plan, proposed lower level plan. Here's the existing building, the existing basement area. And this is the new addition. Again, this being the sort of the main block rectangular space, and this infill here. This is a little bit of the site showing you the entrance plaza, the stairs down here. That's a bench here that we're proposing. And this is the existing well that happens to be in this great spot right here in front of the entrance. And so what we're proposing to do in this case is to lower the wellhead down to be flush with grade here, but we still need to maintain this 5-foot isolation zone. And so our building design, is done in a way to preserve that 5-foot isolation zone. As we come into the entrance of the building here on the lower level, we come into this little entry area here where you have access to a stair to go directly upstairs or an elevator. And then there's a drinking fountain here. Obviously, the main activities space is over here with access to the patio through these doors. A lot of light into this space, natural light, and access to the yard. And the existing, we have new toilet room here and new kitchen facility here, and creating new access to this existing basement area from the interior. So, access for maintenance of equipment as well as the additional storage in this area is now, in the indoors place. As you go up to the main level from the stair, you'll come up to the sort of expansion of the collections and reading area in this new space. This has a cathedral ceiling in it, nice wide open space with a lot of natural light. Access to the elevator. We've put in a central librarian's work area here, which has good visibility and hearing ability to both the main front entrance as well as this open stair down to the lower entrance. So there's sort of a central place of command and control with the librarian station here. Additional new toilet room here, janitor's area. And then these are the proposed privacy rooms that we're putting into the existing building here for, small meetings, telephone conversations, video conferencing or whatever, where you won't then disturb other people that are in the quiet space. So getting into just the overall look of the building from the outside, this is from the front Guilford Center Road, and you can see the addition, which takes on a back seat to the existing historic structure. It's lower in profile. The ridge height is lower, and it's set back from the existing building. This is looking at it from the south as the site slopes off to the back. And this is the sort of connector with the flat roof between the two sort of more prominent structures. Looking at it from the west here, this is the access from the community and children's activity space, direct access to the site here. This is the collections and reading area, expansion area, entrance to the facility here with a nice large window to be able to look out and see what's going on in the plaza and entering the building, etc. A couple other things just to point out as far as the building, the proposed features. The envelope, we have a high performance envelope with slightly above code minimum R values and air tightness for the envelope, something like 11% higher than code minimum. And the mechanical equipment is all electric heat pumps, very efficient, and ventilation through energy recovery ventilation. And then I just show you a couple of the colored images of the proposed addition relative to the existing building. So this is looking at it from Guilford Center Road and sort of, I hope, representing what the goal was, which was to create an addition that, is secondary to the historic structure, but yet still complements it, architecturally. We are proposing to use a wide horizontal fiber cement siding on the building, which has got a 9-inch reveal to it, as opposed to the historic structure, which has like a 3-inch reveal on a traditional clapboard siding. The addition would also have a standing seam roof, metal roof, as opposed to the slate shingle roof. This is a view more from the corner of Guilford Center Road and Carpenter Hill Road. As you can see, the addition kind of dropping off to as the slope and continues to the west there. And this would be from sort of the lower end of Carpenter Hill Road and sort of approaching the building from that direction, from that side parking area where the handicap parking space is. And you can see how, the access, at grade access to the entrance to the building is, and the stair and the access going around to the front. And this is just an aerial view, just so you can get a sense for overall size, scale, and features of the proposed addition. And I guess I hope I was quick enough, but I'm happy to go back to any of these images or plans and answer any questions anybody has.
And I would just say, that was perfect, Jack.
Isaac, 1 second. Jack, can you click on participants and admit anyone who's waiting, please?
Oh, sure.
You have at the moment. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting you, Isaac.
No problem. I was just going to make one clarification, and that is, there's a couple of goals here. The design was intended to accommodate an overworked library space. So the programs and services that the library already offers, number one. Number two, it's designed to make it accessible. So, the elevator, I'm sure we'll talk about the elevator, is an important feature of making this accessible. And number three, we want some code. We're required to do, if we're doing a project like this, we have to bring the building up to code. So a lot of the energy features that Jack was talking about.
Anyone who just joined the meeting, please mute yourself.
Yes. Let's see if everybody's muted now. Is that better?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So just quickly, the last thing is that we have to make, we have to build it to code. So a lot of that's a good thing, but it's also a required thing. So the heating and the energy and the accessibility, those are all code improvements that we need to do to the building. So with that said, I'm happy to take questions. And I think, Peter, you're going to sort of MC the questions. Is that how this is going to work? Do we want to give, or do we want to, how is this going to work?
So if Jack can give me back control, please.
We'll attempt to. Let's see. Can I do that and still share my screen, or I can't?
Well, you can be able to.
All right, I'll stop sharing then, and I'll hand it back to you.
Guilford, and then click on the little blue box in the corner, and then
Yeah. No, fine.
Town of Guilford. I'm looking for Town of Guilford. There it is. Okay. Make host. All right.
thank you.
Yep.
All right. As Isaac said at the beginning, if you have questions or comments, please raise your hand by clicking on the reactions button. Otherwise, raise your physical hand. Laura Lawson Tucker, I see you first.
Hi, thanks, Jack. Thanks, everyone. I'm Laura, and I'm the co-chair of the Library Trustees, and a neighbor as well. Are there visuals for the plaza back area? And I ask because I just would love to see. I know we saw in concept, but in the later drawings, is there anything like that that helps to visualize? Because so much important programming happens in that area.
Well, I'm trying to think if there is additional, I mean, we have it's all modeled, but the images that we have are, are not realistic images. So they're representing the concept. And we can get into, more detail about what the plaza, like the surface is and what the, plantings are around it and what the design of the railings are on the stairs and that kind of thing. As we further develop the design. I'm not sure if that was really what you were asking about.
You were asking us to put it up on the screen for you?
Well, there is that to visualize it because such important programming does happen out there or back there. But related to that is I know there is a little bit of a tree line, behind the library. and then there's a little hill, and then there's another open area. So I'm just curious what the
Yep. Can,
plan
Peter,
is.
can you give me the control back so I can share the screen just so we can get it up on the screen to look at?
One second, let me just respond to one quick question in the chat here. Then I will give you control.
Okay.
I don't know how to do that. Do you know how to do that?
It should be similar as giving him permission to just make co-host.
It says make host, remove record.
It's not there. Part of your-
The,
I also have it up on my screen. If that makes a difference, I can
there you
share
go.
as well.
You need to give it back to me eventually, but it's, you have it, Jack.
Okay. All right, let's see. So.
So Jack, can you, is there any way you can get rid of the toolbars on the top of your, yeah, you're fine. Yeah, maximize it as much as possible.
Okay. Can you see it okay now?
Yeah, Laura, does that help you out?
So,
Yeah, and I just wanted Jack to get really specific about the plaza area would be great.
okay. So, the plaza, this is the area of the plaza right here, this, grid pattern on, in a rectangular shape with a corner cut off of it here. It's roughly 10 feet by 20 feet, something like that. And with a proposed stone bench on this one side, stair coming down from this upper level parking area. This is a little pathway to the entrance door of the new addition, and planting areas that are adjacent to the building, between the building and the plaza. And extending that planting area, this is what I would propose would be to extend that planting area out so that there is some separation visually and from a pedestrian access situation between the plaza and the patio. So if there is an activity going on with kids or adults or whoever, and they're out on the patio, that there's not an opportunity to sort of think that that's the entrance to the building and come in this way. This is a sort of a high wall with a railing on it, and then there's obviously handrails on both sides of the stair. And this area here was developed as a potential planting area with a tree. And we haven't gotten into really the details of the specific plants and species and all that kind of thing yet. But the idea here is that there's a change in elevation that occurs between here and here, which is why there's a stair here and why this is at grade coming across here. And so this was an opportunity to be able to utilize this space to change the grade, to drop off from here to here. The plaza from a programmatic perspective, I would assume could be used in many different ways, but that's really, I think how you envision, taking advantage of that, whether as more of not just a way to get to the entrance, but, a way to engage the community during events or, whatever the case may be.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I needed a little walkthrough, so thank you.
And I guess I can also just, might be good to see these images again in the 3 dimensions, so you can kind of get a sense for, for a little bit better in 3 dimension. And these are not realistic, images, but you can see this sort of partial wall here as a bench, and the plaza behind it, the plantings coming out. This is that planting area that makes the transition in grade from the higher level down to the lower level here, and the stair with the railings, the higher level here. So then this is a bird's eye view of that area, so it might help to kind of see that from that perspective.
Thank you. That's great. Appreciate it.
There's two more people waiting in the waiting room, so I'll let them in, I suppose.
Here, I'll just read, let me take over again
Okay, all right.
and then we can do that. All right, so we're getting those people in. Let me see if I see any more hands at the moment. None at the moment.
I see Murphy's got a hand up.
Oh, I see Lynn King has her hand up and Lynn, why don't you go ahead? I don't see the hand up for Murphy.
Hi, Peter. Can you hear me?
Yep, sounds good, Lynn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple of questions. And one is, Veranda had mentioned in one of the meetings that the select board had that there was going to be a designated room. So as we look at this, the whole building, there's a designated room for nonprofits for meetings and things as such. What part in what we've seen today, what section is that located in? And I also, before I get transferred for that question, could you tell us the existing square footage? And you may already, but I'd like to hear it again, the existing square footage to the proposed square footage.
I'll do the square footage one first. I'm not
Okay.
sure if maybe Isaac or Peter wants to answer the first question, or but because that's more of an operational thing. But the square footage, the existing building is 770 square feet. So the original 1892 building is 670 square feet, and then there was the 100 square foot addition that was done in 2004. So that's a total of 770 square feet on the main level. And then
I'm going to ask Kathy to respond to Lynn's other question.
okay.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Well, that's the existing, but what is the proposed square
Yep.
footage?
Yep, I was getting to it. And I'm gonna have to, I don't think I have it actually at my fingertips. So give me 2 seconds and I'll pull it up on my screen and I'll let you know.
Great, thank
Maybe you
you.
go to the other question and come back to me on the news.
Okay, great.
Activities room in the lower level of the extension is intended to be totally separated from the library operations. So it's activities for programs that go on, but it can also be used by members of groups in the community, members of the community, to have meetings. And we expect to be able to do classes in more than that little teeny weeny children's room. So classes will be there also, but it can be used by the public for their own meetings, community meetings.
I would just add to Kathy's comment, when we could actually put that floor plan, once Jack gets his square footage up, we could put that floor plan up and show it a little bit. One of our challenges on this site in particular is the grade that you have going off of Guilford Center Road down Carpenter Hill. So in order to have it, traditional library activities that they do, particularly in the summer months, you'll find people, kids, adults are bridging in and out, in and out, in and out from the inside to the outside. We wanted to keep that tradition in place, but with the grade as such, you can't do that from the second floor. So that's why we located the activity space on the first level, and it gives you a perfect opportunity to be inside or out on the patio or in. You can also close that door in the basement and actually effectively close the library, but actually have the activity space available. So that was a design consideration as well.
Okay, so I have the numbers. And do you want me to share my screen so you can see the floor plan?
Yes.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. I think I need to be given.
Host, you already got it, Jack.
Okay, thank you. me find that screen here. Let me know if you can see me here.
Not yet.
Not yet. Sorry about that. I'm confused. Let's see. Funny, I can see it on my screen just fine.
Did you hit the share screen button?
That's what I didn't do. There we go. Share screen. Okay. Now
Now we can see your desktop.
get the right thing up there. Is that?
Nope, you gotta share that specific part.
Yep.
So
Unshare your screen and then you've got to share the window that you have up
Yep.
that you want to see.
All right. Now I got to. How do I unshare now? Now it's not there. Sorry about this.
Nope.
Let's see.
So-
No, just unshare it again and take it off.
Yeah, for some reason it's not, I'm not seeing the unshare button.
Where you hover your mouse to the bottom.
Oh, I see it now. I got it. It was on a different screen for me than it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
okay, Jack, I'm giving you controls back again.
Okay,
All right.
right again.
There you go.
Hey, yay.
Yes, okay, good. All right, so this is the lower level floor plan and the activities room that you were speaking of. So the square footages for the addition on this level, the lower level is 1,065 square feet of the addition. And then on the upper level, it's 1,073 square feet of addition. But just keep in mind that we took away the 100 square feet that was part of the first floor of the existing building. So the net on that first floor is an add of 973 square feet.
So that's about a 2,000 square foot addition,
Yeah,
plus
totally.
or minus. Yep. Yep. And dwell for a moment, Jack, on that space. When you enter the library, either for a specific function, what do you see when you go to the ground level?
Lower level.
Please. Yeah. So you go in here. So what are you faced with? Let's say you want to go upstairs and talk to Kathy.
Right.
What do I do?
So you enter the building here and there's a door here to go up to the second floor. This door can, depending on time of day and operational, can be left in its open position so that it's clear and you don't, you can just walk directly upstairs and talk to Kathy. Or it can also be locked in the event that there's an activity that's going on and utilizing the lower level without the library being open.
And what happens if you're mobility impaired and you get yourself in that door?
Yep. So if you're mobility impaired, you got access to the elevator right here, right from this same entry area. Enter the elevator here, and that will take you up to the upper level. And you get out here right into this lobby space, right at the librarian's desk.
So just for the sake of argument, what happens if I'm catering? I've got a bunch of people we're meeting, and I have catered food, and I bring it in that door. Well, what I want to put it in the fridge.
You go to the kitchen right here.
There you go.
So the entrance door is right here, and the kitchen is right around the corner, right behind this wall. So pretty easy access there.
Does anybody have questions about, since we have Jack with the floor plan up on the screen right now, does anybody have questions about the floor plan or the for either level? And I don't is that Jack that has to monitor this now, or
Because if I take control back, you won't be able to see his screen any longer.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I tell you what if you what if you guys give me the control for a minute?
Uh,
Can you guys do that?
Yep, just a second.
Yep.
So it looks like we have a new person who has a question. I'm sorry, I don't know what your name is. M. Wisman.
Hi, Mary is my first name.
Thank you, Mary. Please go ahead with your question while I switch over to Isaac.
It's a beautiful design. It's very exciting. I do just have a question. You mentioned grant money and gifts, gift money, and more to raise. I'm just wondering how much money are you going to be asking from the taxpayers?
Good question. And I will get to that. Did somebody make me host yet?
Yeah,
I am?
yep.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Yep. What we will be asking, what we will be asking for at town meeting is for this amount right here, $205,000 in borrowing. That would complement these other sources that you see listed here. These, and by the way, these aren't specific sources, these are categories of sources that we have. So, you know, there's a bunch of like for instance, under grants and tax credits, there's a bunch of different grants we're targeting within that amount. That gets really confusing if I was to list it that way. So I'm trying to list it in terms of categories. Does looking at that answer your questions at all?
Yeah, I need to look at it a minute and study it, I guess. I like the graph better.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just leave it here for a minute because there's others who may have questions at the same time.
So while people are doing that, just a couple of brief questions have popped up in the chat. Leslie has asked whether or not the main portion of the library will still remain open during the construction of the addition.
We haven't gotten that far yet. It's, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. With construction, it's going to be really difficult to run programs out of the library. Collections might not be impossible, but programs is going to be tricky. But again, we haven't really spoken too much, and we haven't got that far yet.
One further question is, Steve has asked if you could show where the children's room is again.
Yes, I can. Can you guys see that right there?
Nope.
No. Okay, I'll make it better. I promise. I'll do this quickly. What about that?
Yes. Thank you, Isaac.
Yep. So the way Guilford works, in my limited experience in this library, is the children go wherever they want. And there's a certain adage with architecture is that you can design as much as you want, and we just have to. There's going to be a certain amount of natural flow of how it works that you can't always get to in design. But when it comes to children's activities, for instance, say summer camps, this is the lower level. This is the children's activity. This is the activities room that we have identified. That's the one that has access to a kitchen, has access to the outdoors, has access to the exit and entry, and a toilet. That is what we're identifying as the activity room. Now I'm going to scroll very slowly upstairs here. Upstairs is more collections. Undoubtedly, we're going to have children up here and things happening up here as well. But you know, we're not going to have an indoor, because of course you can't go straight outside because you know there's a long distance. These are only windows; these are not doors. So so this area, you know, it's more of a quiet space to do more traditional library functions.
So two more questions have come up in the chat window. The first one is, How much more book space will be added to the library? Jack, you know, if we have a quantifiable, or Isaac, do we have a quantifiable number for that, for the new collections room?
We don't have like, if you're talking about, I guess there's different ways to measure that. Kathy, feel free to pipe in if you need to, but at this point, we have not laid out the shelving unit. So if you're talking about square feet of shelving, we have not laid that out yet. But we have a sense. I mean, in earlier concepts, we had, you know, low stacks, books in between windows. We had books in this area as well.
Isaac, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I think Kathy is trying to speak and she's muted.
Oh, Kathy is.
Ask her to unmute, Isaac.
Oh, you're unmuted. I can hear you now, Kathy.
Oh, thank you. This upstairs room where the arrow is right now will be the children's collection, which will be moving over from the back room in the old building.
So from here, everybody can see my cursor.
Okay.
The
Now,
children's collection is mainly here, right, Kathy?
right now, it's
Yep,
there.
so it's going to go back
And it
here.
will move here. This, the one that says quiet room, will expand the adult collection, which is in the front room, to both rooms. That'll be the adult collection. Now, at the moment, we have about 4,000 volumes. And looking at this, I would say we'll be able to double it. I don't know, but it'll be a lot more than we have right now. And I won't have to do so much reading because I can keep some of the books that got put out a year ago that people still want to read, but we'll have room to put them. And the crowding is especially difficult in the children's room. So it'll be very nice to have almost double the space for the children's collection, which will now be in the new upper room.
There's one thing, it's a little bit of a tangent, but I just want to add this. We're in a design process with some very committed volunteers for the library who have been on this committee from the beginning. So I probably should have recognized our crew early on, and maybe I will here in a second. But because we're at 60% design, we're still having healthy debates about a few things. They're not really necessarily cost impact debates, but they're layout debates. One example is these two privacy rooms. They don't exist. So we're talking about a door, a wall, and a wall. Those don't exist in the current library. But we're talking about 1 or 2 privacy rooms, and we as a committee are trying to decide where exactly to put them. So if we move them here, or move them here, move them here, still going to cost about the same. We just haven't figured out the best way to do it quite yet. So there's things we're still working on, and that's one example.
So another question that came up in the chat, sorry for the delay, Lynn. Lynn asked how many patrons visit the library on an average day, and we actually calculated that number. So the average over the past 3 years was 15 a day, but please note for the past 2 years, because of COVID, that those numbers drastically dropped. The average in 2019, which was a quote unquote normal year, was just over 40 per day, I believe is what Kathy said. Dropping down to about 12 per day last year for 2021. So
I would also add in 2019, I did a pretty deep look into the usage of this library when we were writing the planning grant. And what I learned is that
it's causing $1 million.
What I learned is
library. Figured I should find out what that's all about.
So, hey, Leah, can you mute by any chance?
I'm just curious. So I'm just listening in.
Oh, there we go. So I'm sorry. The Guilford Library is a heavy hitter. We learned that it is, in terms of square footage, it is, you know, it has a very high usage per square foot compared to many or most libraries in the state of Vermont in a year that's not COVID. So that was compelling when we wrote the grant. That was compelling enough. That was one of the factors that they funded the planning work that we did on this. So anyway, that's just what I had to say. Anybody else? Do we have any other hands up?
Not at the moment, Isaac.
I'm sorry?
No, not at this moment. I do not see any additional hands up.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Yeah. So Michael here with us.
I was just wondering if that patrons usage number accounted for the kids that have been using it, the camps in recent years.
I'm pretty sure it did. I think Kathy's pretty diligent about reporting to the library network. It's actually, you can go online and pull down spreadsheets of all the different libraries who report their activities in the state of Vermont. That's what I did. So I'm pretty sure it did at the time. Kathy, do you have a sense during the COVID era, did summer camp attendance increase? Did activities for summer camp increase?
It, let's see, in fiscal 20, it did not, but in fiscal 21, we were back to normal. It wasn't fiscal 21, it was summer of 21. We were back to normal. But the year before, the first year of COVID, we were lower for summer programs.
Yeah.
Not many people use the library.
So just quickly before I answer another question, I do want to just quickly introduce our volunteer committee members who have worked with us on this design and framed this design. And they include, and I'm trying to see people on my screen, who are Kathy, of course, Michael Becker. Is Michael, are you here someplace?
Town office, yeah.
Yep, okay, Michael's there live. John, raise your hand. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on your last name, John, for some reason.
Shaw.
John Shaw, of course. Yeah, John Shaw. We have Nika Fotopoulos, was also on our committee. And who am I missing? Oh, Richard, of course, Wazansky was participated in our committee as well. So did I miss anybody? I don't think so. Any other questions?
Yeah, so we've got a couple more questions. So one person in the chat has asked, you mentioned an electric heat pump for greater energy efficiency. Has rooftop solar been considered on the new building?
Jack could probably give us a much better answer, but I'm going to start. I'm going to give him the space to give a better answer. At this point, it hasn't. We have a mechanical engineer who's laid out a pretty nice electric system for us, but rooftop solar panels are not out of the question. In fact, the building is oriented nicely. We would not want to put them on the historic structure, on the historic slate roof. We would put them on the addition if we did at all. We haven't done that because we're trying at this point to contain costs, and those are a significant cost to put those up there. So it's something that certainly we can look into, and if we were fortunate enough to find a grant or find enough value, in our bidding process, we might be able to add those. How was that, Jack? Or you got to unmute yourself.
That was great. I actually was really only going to say the same thing, which is the opportunity with the south facing roof on the main structure of the addition. We hadn't talked about it yet, but I'm actually going to see if I can pass the baton to my partner Jeff Goldstone to see if he has anything to say about this, because he has a lot more experience with solar than I do. Jeff, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, very briefly. First of all, hello. Thanks for having us here, and thanks for hiring us to do this work with you. It's although Jack's been the day-to-day guy, it's been fun participating from just barely afar. So to the comment that Isaac made about costs, There are two ways to look at costs, of course. I mean, you wouldn't put the solar on the roof if it wasn't going to also reduce your electrical costs. And whoever the questioner was, I'm sure was considering the fact that if you're going to heat and cool the building using electricity, then why not produce our own electricity? The upfront cost for solar can be substantial. The payback cost in Vermont is generally 7 to 8 years. So it's not a substantial cost in the long run. It will start saving you money after about 8 years. That comes after the rebates and the tax credits. Whether or not the town can use the tax credits or sell the tax credits would be a question. But there's another approach, and I'm not suggesting that it certainly hasn't been discussed yet, at least as far as I know, but it could be discussed. And that would be to lease the space to a potential solar developer. This is very common now, where somebody who is looking to install solar and either take the value of that themselves or sell it to other people will actually install for little or no cost and benefit the owners, the town in this case, perhaps with a reduced electrical rate or perhaps with a cash every month or every year based upon the solar that is generated, or the power that is generated. So there are options. And with a metal roof on there, it's very easy to put solar on. It's certainly easy to structure the roof so that future solar is a possibility as well. So even with a little bit of accommodation, some conduit to the right locations and near the roof, or perhaps some electrical upgrades to the panel, you can be prepared to put solar on in the future if that's an option as well.
I want to take the opportunity to add, because I had somebody private chat me here a little while ago. I'm not going to name the person, but it was a very good question about if you have outdoor space. I guess this person had some experience with an outdoor space that was designed and it was just too much sun. They just baked out there trying to do activities. We have a similar, similar to, obviously this is the south. Can you still see on my screen? This is the south side. This is the north side. So this plaza is going to be a fairly shaded plaza. This patio will get afternoon sun. We do have a tree. We do have some trees here which help with that, but we do have a lot of shade spaces for outdoor. So, the solar concept is a big one, both in terms of power generation, but also in terms of usage.
So someone had their hand up here for quite a while, Davida, but their hand is down. I don't know if you had a question. I'm not exactly sure what your name is. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you had it right, but I just had my question answered. So thank you very much, Isaac.
Oh, okay. You're welcome. I'm looking through the chat now, making sure we didn't miss anybody.
Yeah, so looks like we have a new question from Anne, and then we'll get back to Lynn.
All right, Anne, are you gonna ask it with your mouth? Oh, perfect. Yeah.
I was getting to the unmute button. This is not really a question. I just wanted to say, as a person who has gained a lot of information about this project, and thanks to Isaac and the committee that have worked hard to share that information, I was initially extremely surprised and concerned about the cost. Yet, as I look at the numbers and what is actually being asked of the town, which is the $205,000 to be bonded, I feel like we're getting a hell of a good bang for our buck. And I think the library is kind of the soul of our town, obviously, as well as the school, but the center of a lot of learning and a lot of community involvement. And I have really come around to wholeheartedly supporting this project. And I hope that the voters in Guilford vote to endorse the creating this bond to fund this project. I think it's exciting and I hope it happens.
Thanks for your kind words, Lynn. Ann. Lynn King is next.
Thanks again, Peter. I have a quick question that I think will help the community as people go to vote on all of this. Is there someone who could break down and just speak to us about going back at the scale and the breakdown of funds, we have the town of Guilford funds in hand at 518,000. And then I personally hadn't seen a lot about the fundraising, and if someone could just tell us a little bit of what that looked like. But mainly the 518, I know a while back, Sheila Morris mentioned that 300,000 had been transferred a while back. And where did that come from? Where's the money being moved from and to for the library? I think that would help the community better understand.
I could put that graphic back up, Peter, if you want me to.
I just gave you host powers, Isaac.
Okay. This is going to be a response that I think both Peter and I need to answer, but I will take a shot here at a few things. I'm going to scroll here. This might give us a better, I don't know. Some people like the pie chart. I can't get it all on one screen. Some people like the pie chart, some people don't. Maybe I can get it condensed here a little bit. This is a list of sources that we think, of course, we still have some time to figure this out, but this is, so the Guilford funds in hand, that includes a reserve, a library reserve account that the Guilfords had in place for some time. It also includes 195,000 of what was that fund? It was funds that Guilford has, but they've been making payments for another project that never actually happened. Is that a good way to describe it, Peter?
That's the easiest summary. So about 12 years ago, the residents of Guilford approved a bond for the housing project in Algiers Village. Due to that project ending up getting other sources of funding to complete that water line, the town never ended up utilizing these bond funds, and we have been dutifully paying on those for that entire time, and they've been sitting in a bank account with US Bank for that entire time. However, because voters had previously approved it for a different project, even though the funds belong to the town, we need to get approval from voters to reauthorize those funds for this new project, if that makes sense.
So that, Lynn, I'll let you back in if you've got a follow-up question. I'm just going to continue here for a second. That's the sum total of this amount here of 518,000. Local fundraising, I'm sorry, that should be local. The Friends of the Guilford Free Library is a nonprofit organization that obviously helps the library. They're participating in this project. A good portion of this amount here was bequeathed to the library. Is that correct? Yep.
All of it.
All of it was. So that was a gift made, which is effectively a gift to the town.
Several gifts.
Several gifts. We have a general line of local fundraising. This is money that we still need to raise over the next year. We haven't raised that yet. And actually, grants and tax credits, we've only raised about 60,000 of that amount, 269. So we still have more money to raise over the next year as well in that avenue. So at this point in time,
to do that,
we believe we have about 60% of the funds in place we need for this project, and we need to raise the remaining 40%.
And we'll be looking to carry out a local fundraising campaign.
Thank you very much for that clarification for people.
Okay. And so I'm on this screen here, and you see how daunting it is for us to switch screens amongst consultants here. So if anybody has any other questions about the cost, now's a good time. Hearing no more questions on the cost. Does anybody have any other questions on anything else? Do a quick scan of the chat.
Yeah, I don't see any chat questions. I don't see any further questions. Someone has given us a round of applause. We are about 10 minutes over, so if no one has any last minute burning questions, otherwise you can always please contact me at the town office by phone or email, and I will certainly do my best to get an answer for you or your family member or neighbor who has a question about the project.
Thank you very much for being a relatively well-attended Zoom meeting. I think this went as smooth as I could have anticipated. I've definitely been on worse lately. So I will say, just one final note from my end. I really wanted to have this presentation in person. I think it would be so much more meaningful if we were all in a room together and we could put stuff in your hands and actually point to things and show things and talk face to face about things. So I'm sorry we had to do it this way, but that's just sort of the hand that's been dealt to us at this day and time. So
Isaac, I'd like to just have a final word to say thanks to
Absolutely.
all of the great participation, and it's really appreciated the input. I think that the architects will be take some of these comments. I know they will, and take them seriously. And also, I wanted to point out that there will be an article on the town morning that asked the residents of Guilford to approve this and to approve the bond, and I hope you'll support it. And thanks very much for being here. It's a good group. Nice to see you.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming.